To best help your hips, you must understand the deep muscles under the glutes that hold your hip socket in place. The piriformis connects to the anterior sacrum and sacral ligament to the greater trochanter of the femur. The obturator externus connects from the obturator foramen to the trochanteric fossa of the femur. The remaining deep muscles are the gemellus superior, obturator internus, gemellus inferior, and quadratus femoris. We're going to begin with a stretch of the piriformis. Start seated in a chair and place one foot on top of the opposite knee. To create the stretch, pull the hips forward as if pushing your belly button through the hole between your legs. In this stretch, press your foot down into the knee for 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Relax and pick up the slack for about 10 seconds. 8, 7. Again, you're relaxing the belly button through the knees. 4, 2, 1. Press the foot into the leg for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And pick up the slack, relaxing forward. 8, 7, 3, 2, 1. Repeat this process for a total of 10 contractions. Now, in the same figure 4 position, use a lacrosse ball to increase the intensity. Place it right at the head of the femur where the piriformis inserts. You may have to roll around a little bit to find the tender spot. Once you find it, repeat the 5-second contract and 10-second relax sequence for a total of 10 repetitions. Next, we're going to work the glute maximus. The glute muscle starts at the posterior sacrum, ilium, and posterior gluteal line of the ilium, all the way down the gluteal tuberosity of the femur, iliotibial tract attaching to the lateral condyle of the tibia. When the glutes are not working correctly, the attachments at the knee take the brunt of the pain. We're going to begin the work on the glutes by simply sitting on the foam roller and rolling back and forth. If you feel like you're not getting enough pressure, you can lean to one side, either with your arm on the ground or your arm on the foam roller. Remember to work the glutes with different leg positions. You can roll them in or let them drop out while you continue to roll back and forth over that tissue, looking for the most tender and sore spots. When you find one, sit and hold. After some deep breaths, move on. Continue to find the most tender spots on the left and right sides. If it feels like you didn't get enough pressure, move on to the lacrosse ball. Place the lacrosse ball under the glute muscle. Side note, to take some pressure off the wrists, simply use your foam roller as an armrest under your elbows. Begin rolling the ball around the glute muscle till you find a tender spot. Pause and breathe. Remember to take deep breaths through the diaphragm. Each time you breathe out, relax more into the lacrosse ball. Next, we're going to focus on the glute medius, minimus, and the tensor fasciolata. The glute medius connects from the iliac crest of the ilium between the posterior and anterior gluteal lines out to the greater trochanter of the femur. Beneath the gluteus medius is the gluteus minimus. This muscle begins from the ilium between the anterior and inferior gluteal lines to the anterior surface of the greater trochanter of the femur. These two muscles work together to steady the pelvis during ipsilateral training, or standing on one leg. The tensor fasciolata begins from the iliac crest posterior to anterior superior iliac spine, all the way down to the iliotibial tract, which you can see is the lateral condyle of the tibia. Much like the glute max, when these muscles are not firing, the pressure goes directly into your knees. Laying on your back with a straight leg and your opposite knee bent, place the lacrosse ball next to your hip. Do not lift the hips to place the ball, simply relax on the floor, place the ball beside your hip, now roll over onto the ball. You may have to move the ball around a little bit to find the right spots, but ultimately you are looking for the pain to settle into the lacrosse ball. You may begin by rolling the knee in and out or pressing down into the floor and lifting the leg just a tiny bit. This position is uncomfortable. Stay here until you feel those muscles relax and you can allow your pressure to lay on the lacrosse ball. To best help your hips, you must understand the deep muscles under the glutes that hold your hip socket in place. The piriformis connects to the anterior sacrum and sacral ligament to the greater trochanter of the femur. The obturator externus connects from the obturator foramen to the trochanteric fossa of the femur. The remaining deep muscles are the gemellus superior, obturator internus, gemellus inferior, and quadratus femoris. We're going to begin with a stretch of the piriformis. Start seated in a chair and place one foot on top of the opposite knee. To create the stretch, pull the hips forward as if pushing your belly button through the hole between your legs. In this stretch, press your foot down into the knee for 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Relax and pick up the slack for about 10 seconds. 8, 7. Again, you're relaxing the belly button through the knees. 4, 2, 1. Press the foot into the leg for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And pick up the slack, relaxing forward. 8, 7, 3, 2, 1. Repeat this process for a total of 10 contractions. Now, in the same figure 4 position, use a lacrosse ball to increase the intensity. Place it right at the head of the femur where the piriformis inserts. You may have to roll around a little bit to find the tender spot. Once you find it, repeat the 5-second contract and 10-second relax sequence for a total of 10 repetitions. Next, we're going to work the glute maximus. The glute muscle starts at the posterior sacrum, ilium, and posterior gluteal line of the ilium, all the way down the gluteal tuberosity of the femur, iliotibial tract attaching to the lateral condyle of the tibia. When the glutes are not working correctly, the attachments at the knee.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you for being here. As always, we're here to help you move well and live well. So we will get started on that right away. We have a leg day that we're going to be doing. So we basically learn how to really create extension through the hips, trying to strengthen and stabilize the glutes the right way. While we do that, we'll also maintain our shoulders and core just like we do on Monday and Tuesday. And now we get to apply it with our legs. So think through today's movements as we go through it and see where does this apply to my everyday life. The setup, we have 4 rounds, right? So a round is consistent of 8 exercises, and those run at about 45 seconds apiece. Okay, so each exercise will run 45 seconds. You get a 15-second break in between them, then we'll jump right into the next exercise with a full minute break in between each exercise. Good morning, Carol. So happy you're jumping on today for our leg day. Hopefully those knees and stuff have just kind of settled out for you because I know they were having a problem just the other day. So yeah, that's it. So that's what we'll do for our workouts. But first, we're going to get started with our I dedicates right here along the board. And those overhead will stay there throughout the duration of the workout. So look up there every so often and continue to pray for those individuals as we dedicate this hour to those people. First being Lori and her mom is doing dialysis 3 times a week. Ethan has stage 4 liver and bile duct cancer, so we continue to pray for him for healing. A young man with a young family, and so we continue to pray over them for healing there. My friend's wife, who was diagnosed with breast cancer, they are treating that naturally, so they're seeing really good results from the way that they're doing that, primarily being praying. So through those prayers and supplications, we continue to lift and hold them up. Kira, continuing to pray strength over her after her lymphatic surgery and radiation. And then her dad, Jim, has been in decline because of pancreatic cancer, so we want to be praying for him. And our final one to pray for today is Braylee. We want to pray for her as she prepares for another surgery. Do we know the date?
Not that I know of, but Mary left for Philadelphia yesterday. So
Okay.
I will be talking to her, but I didn't talk to her about Braylee.
Okay. So we'll just pray for Braylee, whether it's prior to, during, or after the surgery. We want to make sure that we're there for her. Young girl has had 15 surgeries, born with, I'm not going to... Apert syndrome. It's a very rare genetic thing, and so subsequent surgeries are going to happen throughout her life. So just pray for her and her family through that. Always difficult. Now, our verse of the day: how long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? Proverbs 6:9. So hopefully that one cuts to the heart a little bit. I know, actually, so Monday, of all things, get this, I show up to do my workout. I actually walk through the door, I get here, and I just was like, I am not feeling this morning. There was nothing in me that could get it done. So I actually left. They always say the hardest thing to do is walk through the door of the gym. For me, the hardest thing to do is actually force myself to do it sometimes. But that's okay, right? Sometimes we need the sleep. Sometimes we need to go. But if that's a consistent pattern in our life, that's what we're trying to break. Those are the habits that don't do us any good, is to lie around and get nothing done, to do nothing to help ourselves, to help others, right? A big part of our strength that we build here is to serve, right? It's not meant to just be self-service, right? That I can be better, look better, do better. It's about me, but rather when we turn around and make that about others, we can then begin to serve and not be that sluggard. Let's jump on into the workout here. Remember, for leg day, our primary focus is using your butt cheeks, okay? So we want to think like there's a penny stuck between your butt cheeks and you're trying to squish that thing flat throughout the workout, okay? So do your absolute best. Start with our warm-ups, small circles. Remember, get those shoulders going with it, right? We don't want just the wrists moving, right? And we hold those shoulders, all the tension up in our ears. Push those hands kind of away from you and circle. Move the whole shoulder with it. Okay, small circles backwards. Again, let your shoulders start feeling their position as we do the warm-up. Okay? Our first set of warm-up sequence here is all about trying to get your brain connected to the muscle tissue, right? You need to think actively about what you're doing, what we're shooting for. So throughout it, be pinching the butt cheeks together. See what it feels like when you clench those cheeks and relax. Clench and relax, right? So that way you can prep the muscle tissue and make sure blood is flowing, neurological connection is there, and then we will get more out of the actual rounds when we get into it. Okay, here we go. Good internal, external rotation. Again, you can move through this movement. Move those shoulders. Pull back, roll them forward. Continue to compress that core and squeeze those butt cheeks. Right? Doing your best through the movements. Okay, good march. Again, start already thinking about, as I push that leg down or stand on one leg, I'm not passively falling to the ground. I'm actively pushing that foot away as I march. Squeeze your butt cheeks tight, even through a march. Okay. Hold firm. Good leg swings. Again, continue to compress that core. Think about where those shoulders are at in space. We don't want them out in Jupiter here. Close, core's compressing. Thinking through each one of your movements here. Okay, make sure you switch legs so we get good swings on both legs. Then we'll move on to our hip flexor stretches. Okay, here we go. Good hip flexor stretches. What that means when I say good is your back leg needs to be locked, that knee tight, and then you're going to tuck that pelvis underneath, okay? So when you create that tuck, it's going to help extend and lengthen that hip flexor up front, and that's what we want, okay? 1, 2, 3, good squeeze, switch. Back knee is straight, clinch that butt tight, really tucking under, open that hip, and then switch. 1, 2, 3, right? Good stretch. Do each one of those and then create that change. Lock knee, tuck your butt. 1, 2, 3, then switch. Okay, make sure those hips are all ready to go. Primed up.
3, 2, 1.
Love leg day.
Get ready to squat.
That's coming from a guy with no ACL. Okay, squats. Focus on ripping the floor apart. Okay, rip
3,
apart.
2, 1. Squat.
Okay, so before we get started, you want to make sure core tight, shoulders down and back. Compress, hold that spine straight. You can kind of see how I'm doing that here as I go. I want to hold that spine nice and flat, right? I'm not rounding over to the ground
That's
as I
halfway.
move. Okay, so shoulders, core, that will help brace that whole spine, and then we hinge at the hips. Okay, again, ripping the floor apart, knees stay out. We don't want to collapse those knees together.
3, 2,
Very good.
1. Transition to single leg step down.
Single leg step downs.
Three, 2, 1. Single leg step down.
Good single leg work. I want you to think, again, if you're not using a step, so you can use a step, step up, step back down, switch feet, step up, step back down. But if you're doing a single leg squat,
That's
I want you to think
halfway.
you're sitting your butt back into a chair. Okay, we're not just going straight down like an elevator, bending the knee forward. Okay, we want to actually push the hip backwards. Okay, so just like our squats, really, just using one leg. Okay,
3, 2, 1. Switch
Very good.
sides.
I'm on camera, so I'd get caught.
3,
Good,
1.
good,
Single leg
good.
step down.
Awesome, awesome. Good core compression. Again, regardless of the movement we do, right? Butt cheeks pinched together tight. Core is compressed like a belly wax coming for you. And then
That's
hold
halfway.
those shoulders. Okay? Work your way through it, doing your best all the way through. Good core compression. Hold tight, tight, tight. Doing your best.
3, 2, 1. Transition to good morning.
Good mornings. Remember on delay, but Good that we can get it back up
3,
and running.
2, 1. Transition to VMO left.
Good compression. Squeeze nice and tight through our VMOs.
3, 2, 1. VMO left.
Good compression. Sitting tall if you're sitting down. Right? Straighten that leg, lock it into place. Right? We're focused on that upper part of the leg, right on the quad. Try to lock that knee, pull the toes
That's
towards
halfway.
the knee, and push that heel away. Okay, the more you push your leg, the more you're going to get that quadricep to fire just above the knee. I'm going to have to adjust my screen here a little bit, so bear with me. Good, tight squeeze, core compressed. Well, we might lose it today.
And then the same thing, technical difficulties today. Oh boy. Well, hopefully this locks back in for us. I'm really sorry about the delay and lag. Screen froze, went on without you. Yeah, Carol, sorry about that. Usually this doesn't happen, so we can keep it moving. But we do appreciate you jumping in. We've had a few join us as we go. For some reason, our video had stopped playing here, so hopefully this jumps back in. And so that being the case, you can always go back to last week's Tuesday or Wednesday video and do the leg day from last week. That's a good thing about running these live is we're able to keep them going. But we might have to finish it off here. But that's what I'll say. Okay, go ahead, jump over to last week's video to finish out the rounds. I'm really sorry about the technical issues. Again, we will work through this and make it better for you next time. But yeah, I know last week's is up and running, so jump on over there, keep that leg day going for you. And we will see you again tomorrow for our core day.